What's going on, everybody? It's been a while since I made a video. I really didn't have anything to say or to update, so I really didn't make a video. I did try a few times, but it seemed like some things were repetitive, so I just deleted them. But other than that, I hope everyone is being safe and as healthy as you can be during this what I call BS. Not that the virus isn't real, but there's a lot that I really don't want to get into on this page that I disagree with. Other than that, let's get into Second Amendment stuff. Okay, as you know, there was a New York case that went all the way to the Supreme Court, and they had their oral argument back in December, and we've been waiting for that case to get ruled on. It really didn't affect carry cases unless you looked at it to if the Supreme Court ruled a certain way on levels of scrutiny. If they did that and ruled on levels of scrutiny, that would mean all the Second Amendment cases at every level would need to be ruled a certain way. Well, today, the opinion of that case finally was issued, and it really is not an opinion. The judgment was vacated and remanded back to the lower court for to see if damages were eligible for, if they were eligible for damages, court fees and lawyer fees and all that stuff that took place over all this time. Because if you know, New York changed their law, New York City changed their ordinance, that the law that was originally challenged at the Supreme Court was no longer in play. Therefore, the case is moot, M-O-O-T. So they really didn't need to rule on the case because the law in question doesn't exist anymore. However, I have a problem with that because that would, since there was no ruling, it doesn't mean that New York doesn't repeal their law and the city doesn't re-implement a form of the old law. So it doesn't mean it's going to go away. It'd be harder because a law was passed and they would have to do the process of getting rid of it or repealing it, but it's still a possibility. Not only that, by basically mooting the case, other states could therefore do the same thing. There's no ruling against what New York did. That was the biggest thing that I looked at. They needed to come out and say, New York, what you did was wrong. This is why. This is our opinion on it, and this is how things should be in the future. But they didn't. They basically said, oh, well, New York, you fixed the problem, therefore we don't need to hear it. Now, there's an issue with that. It took like 11 months of back and forth and filing fees and briefs and lawyer fees and all that, that basically probably in the hundreds of thousands of dollars that people have donated or raised for a case that is poof, gone. And now the only thing the people can do is, at lower levels of court, sue the city of New York and New York State for financial damages, because really it should have been, it should have never went that far. But New York had plenty of chances during I think it took a few years to make its way up. Plenty of chances in lower courts to change their law then and stop all this. but they chose to keep fighting. So the New York Rifle Pistol Club Association, they continued to fight back. Took it all the way to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court agreed to hear it, and all of a sudden New York and New York City said, oh shit, we need to change. They knew the whole time that it was a bad law. They knew the whole time it was going to be a loser if it made it to the court. But they waited, and they wasted everybody's time and money. So, that being said, there was multiple cases, carry cases, that were, for all intents and purposes, on hold or stayed until the New York case was completed. So that's where we are right now. So the case that I was involved in, me and Mark together at the beginning stages and the middle stages. Eventually I had to drop out. I could no longer financially do it, but Mark is keeping the thing alive, and he is at the Supreme Court of the United States right now, as well as 2 other cases from New Jersey, the Rogers case and the Douglas, I can't pronounce his last name, so I'm not going to say it, but those 3 cases are all from New Jersey, and they're carry cases. They all have been relisted for conference May 1st. So some of them have been at conference since last October, but they kept pushing it because of the New York case. So all 3 cases are going to conference May 1st. Not only that is, there's another at least two other carry cases that just were filed at the Supreme Court that probably will get a date very soon in conference. And then you have the case out of Hawaii, which is the Young v. Hawaii, which I've posted on my page before. Now, that was an open carry case, which Mr. Young won his case at the Ninth Circuit. Then, obviously, Hawaii didn't take that too lightly, so they appealed to the Ninth Circuit en banc, basically the full court. Now, when they did this, the court was heavily left. Since then, it was put on, it basically was stayed. At the en banc court, stayed the ruling until the New York case was complete. So, since then, with Trump's appointments, the court is almost 50-50 now, which is actually great news. So we don't have to flip or turn as many judges as we would have had to in the past on that particular case. So I don't know the judge count by offhand, but it might be like 14 Democrat judges and 12 Republican judges. Or I said appointed judges. So I'm pretty sure since now this case, the New York case is moot, that the Young v. Hawaii case will get its hearing date at en banc and see where that goes. Now, before the last carry case, that was Peruta, that went en banc, basically ruled that concealed carry at their en banc in the Ninth Circuit was that concealed carry wasn't a constitutional right, but left the door open for open carry. So this is where the Young case comes in, because it's an open carry case in the same circuit. So they can't, you would think that they can't go back and rule that open carry isn't constitutional neither, because that would be an outright ban on open and concealed. And we know that there is a right to carry, so pick your poison. So I don't know exactly how that's going to turn out, but since the New York case is complete, that one should be moving as well. And there's quite a bit of lower cases in other circuits, or working its way up through state level, and even some lower federal court cases that are working its way up that are carry cases. So even though mine is no longer in play, we should still have quite a few cases that are making its way up. And currently, at least four, possibly 5 carry cases that are currently waiting at the Supreme Court already. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, and I really mean it, hopefully that they really wake up. The court realizes, especially the ones in New Jersey. You have 3 separate cases, 3 separate funded cases that are not tied together at all. 3 of them are fighting the same laws in New Jersey, and all 3 of them made it all the way up to the Supreme Court. So that has to tell the judges something. Has to go, wow, 3 cases from the same law, from the same state. We need to look at this. So I'm pretty sure the court's not going to take all 3. I'm pretty sure they probably won't take 2. But there's a good chance they do take 1. And to be honest, if they don't take any, I think there's a bigger problem at play there. So the only other thing I have to say for today is Trump 2020.